Alright, guys, what's going on? Welcome back to the Everything College Football Podcast. Today, me and Hunter are going to be bringing you guys the top 10 running backs in college football for the 2021 season. How you doing today, Hunter?
Good, good man. How you doing?
Alright, so first we're going to start with the honorable mentions. Who stands out to you on this list that you're liking in 2021?
Definitely Todd Chandler and Eric Gray. They're both transferring in for big programs. Eric Gray, especially with the Oklahoma running back group they have, very dominant. Todd Chandler will probably get the start at starter for North Carolina. He's a good back, very elusive, and I just feel as they go throughout the college season, draft board rating is going to definitely
Yeah,
go
for
up
sure.
there.
Ty Chandler replaces 2,000-yard rushers, Michael Carter, Javante Williams. His addition is going to be huge. North Carolina likes to run the ball, get the game going. Bijan Robinson rather from Texas. He really burst on the scene last year late. Had 101 touches, 899 yards out of that. He was a big play every time he touched the ball, especially with Sark coming over. They're going to get him involved a lot. Isaiah Spiller, nearly 2,000 yards, 19 touchdowns, 5.5 yards per carry for his career. It was tough to leave him outside the top 10, but that's a guy you really like, isn't it, Hunter?
Yeah, it is. Especially in the SEC, with the controversy about who has the best defense and not. When you have a good back like Isaiah Spiller, it's kind of hard to just stop the offense just
Yeah,
like that.
and he's going to be leaned on once more. That Texas A&M, they like to run the ball, they like to pound it up front. He's going to be leaned on immensely. We'll move ahead to Kevin Warwick, one of the top power group of five running backs, rather. He was briefly in the transfer portal. He's going to be the fill-in for Jarrett Patterson. Patterson was, huge in his career for Buffalo. Marks wasn't far behind in 2019. He had over 1,000 yards, and I expect him to be one of the nation's top 10 rushers in terms of yardage.
Yeah, that's a good Buffalo team with a good O line, and I feel as if they'll make a run deep.
Yeah, Lance Leopold's done a nice job with that program. A few more guys on this list like to discuss. Cameron Peoples, Appalachian State, had 317 yards and 5 touchdowns versus North Texas. Finished the year with over 1,100 yards. It's a nice trio of backs at Appalachian State to have numbers like that. That's just wildly impressive, and I expect him to do it once more.
Yeah, yeah,
And
same here.
Kevin Harris, he led the SEC in yards per game, almost 114 per contest. I don't think a lot of people actually knew that, so that's an impressive stat with him. He was a lone bright spot for South Carolina, and Shane Beamer has a elite weapon to work with in his first season. 15 touchdowns last year for Harris. They're going to give him a lot of touches, I'd imagine, in 2021.
Exactly.
Moving to number 10, Brian Robinson from Alabama. He has big shoes to fill from Najee Harris, but this is a guy we both think can really do that.
Yeah, as the key backup last year, for the Alabama team, people are, mostly slip on him. I think so. That's just my opinion. Um, he's, a bigger back, and Najee Harris, was the guy, but you know, you got to have the best backups, and that's what Brian Robinson was
Yeah, it
last
seems
season.
like Alabama always has a nice, reliable backup. Robinson, for his career, though, he's been very reliable, short yardage, goal line situations. He's a big body at 228 pounds, but he runs behind his shoulder pads, embraces the contact. But he's also a very shifty runner in the open field. He can make defenders miss. I think he's going to have a phenomenal season in 2021. I'm very glad to see him come back for his senior season.
Yeah, that would have been a tough loss for the Alabama team, but with the recruiting class that they have, I feel as if the shoes would get filled. But it's good for Brian Robinson to
Yep,
be
he's
back.
certainly going to have. I expect him to be top three in rushing in the SEC. Another guy who's going to be a standout in the SEC, Tanks Bigsby. He's one of the nation's top freshmen in 2020. Can you kind of allude, Hunter, to why this guy is so special?
Just down here running he has. A Week 12 injury cut him short of finishing the season, but um, you know, he's got Tank has a good line in Auburn, so I feel as if they'll get the job done, and hopefully they make a run, for the SEC
Yeah, when they
championship.
can give a good push up front, it makes the job even easier for Bigsby. He's already he's probably already the top, most elusive ball carrier in the country. He was among the leaders in broken tackles. That strong lower body really complements that well. Just a very agile runner. He loves contact, has a high motor. Where he keeps the wheels turning. This is a guy I also think will be top three rushing in the SEC.
Oh yeah, yeah, exactly. There's a lot of talent in the SEC. especially with you know just like we said, Brian Robinson. There could be who we just mentioned, Kevin Harris. He could be a good role
Yeah,
as well.
I'd like to see Bigsby get a little more involved in the passing game this year just because he's that reliable of an option. But, nonetheless, I think he's in store for a very successful season on the ground. Moving to number 8, Tyler O'Leary. Kind of impressive, former walk-on linebacker turned running back. He's elite. He was elite, really, alongside Zach Wilson for the running game. Nice balanced offense at BYU, over 1,100 yards. What do you like about O'Leary that really stands out?
The yards for the season. 1K yards. That's very very impressive from somebody who started as a linebacker.
Yeah, yeah,
Something like
the
that.
first 1,000-yard rusher since Jamal Williams in 2016, who's now in the NFL. One thing really stands out about Leargy is his vision. He ranked third in FBS and 30-plus yard runs of 8. Also 21% of his runs went for 10-plus yards. The vision, he really finds those cutbacks. He finds the holes, hits them. 7.5 yards per carry. He had 4 straight 100-yard games to end this season. With no Zach Wilson, I like the backup they have in Rodney, who's going to take over at quarterback. But BYU, they're still going to lean on a nice, impressive group of backs, and Leargy's going to headline that.
Exactly. BYU loses Zach Wilson, which is sucks for them. But I feel as if they're gonna have a good season still.
Yeah, most definitely. The projection for me is a top 15 in rushing. I'm not sure if the production is going to be the same as it was last year because you lose that dimension in the passing game. So everyone, naturally, the production should go down for everyone. But, he's still going to be the big aspect of this offense. So moving to number 7, Max Borgi, Washington State. This is a guy you really like, Hunter, and, you were even went as far as to compare him to Christian McCaffrey.
Yeah, when somebody's like, somebody you have somebody like this. I mean, not really that 1K total rushing yards, but he gets it done during as the receiving back as well, which is very impressive. As for me, it's kind of a little tough to do both. But when you got somebody like Max Borgi, which is very dominant running back, you can make
Yeah,
that happen.
Borgi, 817 yards in 2019 under Mike Leach in his final season in Washington State. That's very impressive. They don't really run the ball that much, but they got Borgi's touches on the ground and through the air. Almost 90 grabs, almost 600 yards receiving. Danny Woodhead is probably a more accurate comparison. But he's still accounted for over 6.6 yards per touch. He's very shifty, elusive. He's climbing draft boards. His short area quickness and acceleration also very stand out. The reliable hands, as we said, along with the impressive speed. I just gave a small report, kind of almost like a draft report on Max Borgi, but this is certainly a guy that there's so much to like about him.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
I think he's going to thrive in Nick Rolovich's offense. I think he'll be a top 10 back this upcoming season. They certainly, he only played in one game this past season, but they're certainly going to incorporate him into the offense, in Rolovich's year two. Moving to
Yeah, it's going to be impressive watching Washington
Yep,
State.
I like the progression that offense should take. I think they should take some big strides in 2021. Moving to number 6, Jarian Ely, former 5-star recruit. He was the third-ranked running back in the class of 2019. There's a lot to like about Ely, isn't there, Hunter?
There is, everybody would like to see, more carries on him and more yards. Did have a good old line, just wasn't on the best team, and they didn't really, Ole Miss wasn't able to make that run.
Yeah, Ole Miss actually ranked, I believe, first in yards per game offensively, but their defense, was was so lackluster. They weren't able to consistently run the ball they would have hoped to. Ely only 745 yards rushing, 9 touchdowns, but he was extremely consistent in terms of production. He also had 147 carries, no fumbles. He also got involved with a receiving and a kick return touchdown. He does a little bit of everything, fights through the contact, his athleticism and elusiveness. The combinations really, it's almost kind of rare to see in a guy like this. His skills are certainly a tremendous part of this offense. I would like to see him get involved more as a pass catcher. I don't see him having monster numbers this season, but I think he should top 1,000 yards. What do you think, Hunter?
Uh, I mean, yeah, that's what you wish for every running back is to top 1,000 yards. Hopefully you can get it done, but if not, I mean, close to 900 maybe,
Yeah, yeah, like we
something like
said,
that.
the numbers aren't going to be off the charts, but he's still a phenomenal talent, very key piece of Lane Kiffin's offense. Of course, that was just the first year Lane Kiffin. They didn't have a lot of off-season work, so hopefully they can incorporate him more into the passing attack because he's certainly capable of it. But still, I love the top 6 ranking here, and I think it's going to stick whenever we hit the gridiron. Moving Moving to
exactly.
number five, Kyron Williams. This guy is one of the most physical backs in the country. Hunter, what do you kind of see about Williams carrying over the next season?
He blew up last year as Notre Dame started running back. He was only a sophomore last year and was still putting up, great numbers, especially in the game against Clemson. I think biggest game of the season probably last year. Um, you know, more as a receiving back would, complete Williams as I feel. Um, but it's just, the loss of Ian Book and finding that QB1 is going to be, tough for them. But I feel as if they're
Yeah,
good though.
Williams showed flashes of being able to, you know, make plays in pass protection and as a receiver. Against Alabama, they gave him 8 receptions. That's certainly a part of his offense. You'd like to see him pick up more yardage totals than that, but he's certainly capable of it, and that's something he's going to continue to work on. He ran really hard last year, running behind his shoulder pads. Always kept the feet moving. Seen that against Alabama. His offensive line was just tasked tremendously, and he really turned in an impressive effort early in that first half to keep him in the game. Like you said, with no Ian Book, they're going to be grooming a new quarterback in Notre Dame, and they're going to lean on him in multiple facets, of this offense. He's a workhorse back for Notre Dame. Had almost 18 carries per game last year. I think that number is going to go up a little bit, along with his yardage total, because they're going to lean on him such heavily.
Yeah, true that.
Moving to number four, we got Kennedy Brooks. He missed all of 2022, all of 2020 rather, due to COVID concerns, but that's not really a big worry for you, is it, Hunter?
No, as we were talking about Eric Gray earlier, it's going to be a tough, it's going to be a tough matchup, to pick the starting, running back. Both are so dominant, the hard running backs. Oklahoma, is my projection would be, have a top offense this year, especially with all the talent they have still coming back. And the recruiting class, how it's blowing up. This is a good back, and probably is going to finish, top 5, 7 in rushing
Yeah,
yards.
Oklahoma, they usually do a phenomenal job of getting their running backs involved. So I think Brooks and Gray, they're going to be really one tough duo. They're going to be the top duo in football to try and stop. Brooks, he had all of 2020 he was out, got to stay healthy. 2,067 yards, 18 touchdowns combined in his first 2 seasons. Not many people fight through contact like he does. His elusiveness is incredible. He also has pretty impressive speed. But that allowed him to average 8.8 yards per carry in 2018, which was a 1,000 yard season as well. My projection for him is 1,200 rushing yards. I think he leads the conference in rushing. They're going to get him heavily involved. It's a loaded backfield, though, for sure. Seth McGowan, Marcus Majors, they will join Eric Gray as well. So a lot of touches to dish out, but Brooks, with how much he averages per touch, it's going to be hard for him to not get a bulk of the touches.
Yeah, that too.
Moving to number three, we have Mohamed Ibrahim from Minnesota. This is a guy me and you are really both high on, Hunter. What do you think is his best attribute, though?
Finding the end zone, totally. 15 touchdowns in 7 games. It's actually kind of crazy. And plus, he's a tough runner. One back down from nothing, which is something is going to proceed to him as draft boards go up. Potential, hopefully first round pick, or maybe second round. Minnesota's got a great O line and a great offensive scheme, so that should blow up
Yeah,
this year.
but Minnesota, it was kind of, strange to see their passing attack struggle as much as it did last year, but the offense didn't miss a beat. Ibrahim really carried them. He led the FBS in, I believe he led the FBS in rushing yards per game at over 150. In games 2 and 3 this season, he had back-to-back 200-yard, 4 touchdown games. They lost one of those games actually, so that's just to speak the volumes of how important he was for this offense. But he's no stranger to success. In 2019, he was a trio of backs, so he didn't have great production. But in 2018, he ran for nearly 1,200 yards and 9 scores. And like you said, he is exceptional finding end zone. 31 career rushing touchdowns. There's a lot to like about Ibrahim. His strength is probably his best attribute, though, if we're talking about a characteristic standpoint. He has a lot of toughness. He also excels between the tackles and the patience to work through the blocks. So along with that great developing offensive line you mentioned, Ibrahim, I project him to lead the Big Ten in rushing.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Number two, we moved to Deuce Vaughn from Kansas State. He's severely underrated, Hunter. 5'5", 168 pounds, but man, is he something else when it comes to the open field.
Yeah, I mean, what's not to like about him? Even though he is short, he's still a very dominant running back. You can't take away his elusiveness, to get into the open field, snatching ankles all season, and really just like Max, you know, being that receiving back, which helps in a Kansas State offense.
Yeah, his quickness and agility makes him just such a. He takes souls in the open field early. I just averaged over 17 yards per catch. Had 642 rushing yards as well, 9 total touchdowns. They got him. He returned 7 kicks last year all over the final weeks of the season, averaged 122 yards per game. I think they're going to get him a little bit more involved this season now that he's a sophomore. I think he's going to hit that 150-yard all-purpose mark, and I really think he's the top candidate to be an all-purpose All-American first-teamer.
Yeah, I mean, no doubt about it. Especially, you know, if Kansas State can, you know, find the end zone, get big plays in the open field, I see no
Yeah,
doubt
I
about
think
that.
with Skylar Thompson returning and 4 offensive linemen, this offense is going to have improved balance. They really fell off without Skylar Thompson. He's shown before how good he can be as a passer. He's also a very good runner. So this offense is going to have more versatility, and Vaughn's certainly going to be a big part of that. So I think Chris Kleiman and the Kansas State staff, they really like what they have heading into 2021. And Vaughn, if you don't know him now, you're going to know him by the end of the year, I'd say for sure.
Oh yeah, for sure,
Moving
definitely.
to number one, this is kind of a no-brainer. Brees Hall, he led FBS in rushing, 1,571 yards, 21 rushing touchdowns. Now he was the engine of the offense. Over the years that we've seen guys like that, Chuba Hubbard, Bryce Love, have great seasons and turn around and kind of have a disappointment. What kind of stands out about Hall that makes you think that he's not going to do similar? He's going to have another great season for Iowa State.
You know, just the offense in general. Uh, 21 rushing touchdowns on 1,500 yards. That's people might not see that, but that's huge, especially playing in the Big 12. Uh, Defenses like Oklahoma, and whatnot. Uh, I would like to see his yards per carry go up. They weren't. He had 21% of his carries were 10 yards or less. Uh, if he does get that up, I see Iowa State having a
Yeah,
big
his
year.
yards per carry could be a little bit of a miss. He's a pure workhorse. I don't know if I had to guess, maybe about 25 touches per game is what he sees as a real legit workhorse back. They give him a lot of touches. But that's what I find impressive about him. He gets all this work, but he's extremely durable. That's why I think he's gonna have a repeat season of last year. The durability. Iowa State, they're probably the best team when it comes to balance in all of the country. Alabama and Ohio State were probably a little bit better in that category. Iowa State very underrated when it comes to their balance. They get their entire offense back, including all three tight ends, and those guys can block anybody off the field on the perimeter, inside. So I think the tools are there, the durability is there. And the play calling is also there for Brees Hall. I think the projection for him is a Heisman finalist. Do you see this explosive, physical guy being a Heisman finalist, Hunter?
I do. I feel like he's one of the top five players returning back to college football. Um, he's gonna make a name for himself. Not really coming from that Oklahoma, Alabama program, but still being able to explode. That's
Yeah,
gonna
he's
be
another one
huge.
of those guys. If you don't know the name now, you certainly will soon. Same could be said for who we just talked about, Deuce Vaughn. I think these guys are going to turn heads if they haven't already in 2021. Start get some national recognition. That's I think going to wrap everything up. Hunter, if you have anything else to add, you can go ahead. If not, everyone make sure to like, subscribe, comment. Who did we leave out the rankings? Who's misplaced? Go ahead, tell us below. And is that everything, Hunter?
That is everything. Everybody stay safe and keep your hands washed.
Yes, sir. Sounds good. Everybody have a good day.